Hey to all the spooks out there. Welcome back to another episode of Spine Chilling Chats, where every Wednesday we dig up the darkest corners of true crime, history, folklore, and the supernatural. I'm Ange.
And I'm Amanda.
Today we're diving into the twisted mind of a serial killer whose crimes were as brutal as they were methodical. He was calculating, organized, and left behind a cryptid list of horrors. One that law...
Horrors?
Horrors.
I know.
Horrors. One that law enforcement still hasn't fully deciphered. Randy Kraft, also known as the Scorecard Killer, had a sinister system for tracking his victims, and his case is one of the most disturbing in true crime history.
You think he's related to the Kraft people?
Like
Kraft macaroni and cheese?
I doubt it. I would have mentioned it because that is a famous family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it definitely would have been in there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So lock your doors, check your back seat, and maybe skip that roadside hitchhiker today, because this story, it's not for the faint of heart. Trigger warning for sexual assault of minors, rape, torture, and murder.
But we always say, don't pick up strangers, don't pick up hitchhikers.
Yes, hitchhiking is so dangerous, not just for the person picking up somebody, but for the hitchhiker themselves.
Yes, because either way, you're dead.
Yeah, somebody's getting killed.
Somebody's dying. Either the hitchhiker's killing you, or you're killing the hitchhiker. Well, not you, but or you're killing the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Either way, somebody's
dead.
dead. Somebody is unalived.
Yep.
So,
on March 19th, since we're still in March, 1945, in Long Beach, California, Randy Stephen Kraft was born the fourth child and only son to Opal Lee.
Ooh, I like that name.
Opal Lee.
Opal.
And Harold Herbert Kraft. Herbert. Sounds like sherbet. Herbert. Just weeks after the United States entered into World War II, Harold moved from Wyoming to California. He found work as a production operative, aka he worked on an assembly line, at the Douglas Aircraft Company, and was then joined in California by his wife and daughters, as this was a few years before Randy was born. They lived a modest life that required Opal to work odd jobs to help supplement her husband's salary. She found work as a seamstress at a garment factory before working at a local school as a cook. His mom and sisters loved Randy and would shower him with love often.
So see, another one that has a good
home,
a good background, a good family, and turned out to be a fucking psycho.
His mother did her best to put her children first and made sure to find the time to spend with them. You know, she's working and taking care of a household, and sometimes, you don't have a lot of time to spend with your kids. And when you do, you're tired. You don't want to sit on the floor and play Barbies. Aurora, I'm sorry.
Wait, I think this just took a personal turn.
However, his father rarely attended any family outings with them and was described as being distanced from the family. He had a pretty average life as a toddler, except for a few accidents that were quite severe, to say the least. At just the age of 1, he broke his collarbone after falling from the couch. Then, when he was 2, he fell down a flight of stairs and got knocked out. Upon getting professional advice at the hospital, they deemed that there was no irreversible damage and he was okay. So he was just a clumsy little kid. And it didn't say that it turned out to be abuse or
I was going to say,
that.
Are you sure he was clumsy or was he abused? Okay.
No, I don't believe he was abused.
Okay.
It was just, kids have accidents. It does happen.
It does happen, for sure.
In 1948, the family moved into a small wood-framed Women's Army Corps dormitory on Beach Boulevard in Midway City. Randy's dad renovated it into a 3-bedroom home. The family joined the Westminster First Presbyterian Church in Westminster. Randy's mom became very involved and actually took on the role as chairman of the Deacons Committee. She also was a member of the PTA for Randy's elementary school and baked cookies for his Cub Scout meetings. So, she's really putting in the effort.
Right there.
She's taking care of him. He did well in school, and his teachers and classmates noted his intelligence. By 1957, Randy was deemed intelligent enough to attend accelerated classes at the junior high school. So he's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
As Randy got older, he took an interest in politics and became a headstrong Republican. After starting high school, he and two close friends created the Westminster World Affairs Club. In high school, he was again thought of as a pleasant, bright student and typically received A's. By the time he got into high school, his sisters had all gotten married and left home. His parents were both busy with their jobs and often left him home alone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're
a good kid and you're in high school, like
who doesn't want that freedom of having the house to yourself, not having a parent breathing down your neck constantly? Like, that's every teenager's dream.
Mm-hmm. And they, he was a good kid, so it's not like they had to worry about him.
Yeah. Randy ended up being an independent teenager who had the house, car, and earnings from his temporary jobs all to himself. He casually dated a few girls, although some classmates and teachers later stated that they had thought Randy was gay. Randy later stated that he knew in high school that he was gay, but initially kept his sexual orientation secret. Remember, this was the early 60s, and that was just something people typically kept to themselves. He graduated high school on June 13, 1963, and was ranked 10th out of his class of 390 students, which that's remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
He enrolled at Claremont Men's College in Claremont, California. He worked towards a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. A little bit after enrolling at Claremont, Randy enrolled in the Reserve Officers Training Corps. He regularly attended pro-Vietnam demonstrations along with campaign rallies for Republican presidential candidate Barry Goldwater in 1964, which I've never even heard of Barry Goldwater.
Gary Goldwater.
Barry Goldwater.
No, I said Gary Goldwater.
Oh, you flipped it.
I flipped it. Yeah, I haven't heard of that either. Him.
He's
they,
a him.
Them. I don't know.
Yeah, his pronouns.
Back in 64 was a he.
He was a Republican. He was a he.
It was a he in 1964.
He later said that he only did those things to please his parents' political views, as they were not his own. In his sophomore year at Claremont, he abandoned the last little bit of his conservative ideology, freeing. We're both going to have trouble talking today. We just recorded hers before this, so we're both
bumping mouths. Yeah.
Freeing himself to enter his first known homosexual relationship. And I understand the pressure all too well. I know I've mentioned this before, but I come from a very conservative, Republican, Seventh-day Adventist family. It took a lot of courage for me to tell my family that I am an atheist. And actually, I have recently been exploring spiritual atheism. I further have disappointed them by being a liberal. But at least in that aspect, I have the support of my brother and his wife, because we share a lot of the same political views. But my sister and her husband are more conservative Republican, like my parents. Like, they are all pro-Trump, Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and my brother are not. But as for being a godless heathen, I am the only one, and it can be very lonely sometimes. My husband is Christian, but not religious.
That's the thing too. People think because you're an atheist, you're a devil worshiper. No.
I don't believe in the devil.
Right. Like, they think you're satanic and they think that you're whatever. I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can be spiritual and not be religious. You don't have to believe in God, and you don't have to believe in the things that go along with it and be spiritual. Like, you could be spiritual and not believe in those things because you believe in something different. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're a Satanist or anything like that.
No. I just believe we all have energy. Our energy is all connected. And
I believe in what I believe in. Whatever's out there is out there. And I don't necessarily believe in God, but I don't necessarily not believe in something. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I don't need the threat of being thrown into a fiery hell to make me a good person. I just want to be a good person on my own.
I'm a good person anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to hell probably in a handbasket.
I don't believe in hell. I'm just going to be, once you die, your energy is just released into the universe because energy doesn't end. Mm-hmm. That's all we are, is energy. Anywho, my husband's Christian. I am not, but his mother is religious, and she worries about me rubbing off on Robbie and my daughter. My dad often makes comments and will send me videos of different religious things, and I'll gently remind him, Dad, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in that. I tell him I appreciate that you are thinking of me. These are not my beliefs, and I'd rather you not send me stuff like that. And then he'll say something along the lines of, that's all right. One day you'll have to answer for your choices, which he's made her cry. I've cried several times from the things that he's sent me because
I've seen some of the stuff that he sends, and it's true, and she does get upset about it.
You know, I'm a good person, you know, and to look down on me just because I don't share your beliefs, it hurts my feelings. It really does. You know, I would never, you know, tell them that their beliefs are wrong and that, you know, you're just a child and we've been around a lot longer and we know how things are. You know, age is not always more experience. I'm sorry, it's not. And the age doesn't always make you correct.
Nope.
So, anyhow, I understand the trying to stepping away from your parents' beliefs. It's difficult, it's scary, and you know, it's scary, but we all have to do it at some point. There's a fear. What I'm taking a long way of saying is stepping away from your parents' ideals is very difficult as an adult. There's this fear of them choosing to not love you or to not see you in the same light anymore. All any child wants is for their parents to be proud of them. And when everything inside of your being is telling you that their beliefs do not align with your own, and it makes you question everything about who you thought they were and who you are, it's heavy. And I'm still learning to navigate and accepting who I am and who I want to be as a human being. And the pressure to make sure I don't force my beliefs on my daughter, but also that they don't force their beliefs on her either, is very stressful.
What you talk about in your house and what you believe in, it is a conversation, and she hears those things, which is fine. But also, because Angela is an atheist and she does not go to church and things like that, she does allow Rory to go to church with Robbie's mom.
Yes.
So it's not like she's keeping her from it. She's just giving her the open options to choose when she's older what she wants to believe in. So she's telling her beliefs, but she's telling her, well, I don't know if you tell her your beliefs, but you know, she's young. She's only 5. She's 5 now. Shit. But she's also given her the option to go to church and learn about those things. So when she's older, she can make an educated decision.
Yeah, I want her to be able to think for herself later on in life. But a lot of times I feel like it's expected for me to not mention atheism as an option because and it's a big thing with my parents and Robbie's parent. You know, neither set, you know, really appreciates my atheism, but I want her to be her own person, and as long as she's healthy, happy, and a good person, I don't give a fuck what she believes in. Right. You know, it's her choice.
Right.
And I wish that they have allowed me that same respect. Sorry for going off on a tangent, but it's something that is really a big part of my life and a lot of my trauma with religion and all that stuff. So back to Randy, who is going through a lot of the same thing with his homosexuality and his religion and his political thoughts.
Yep.
So Randy got a job as a bartender at a local Garden Grove cocktail lounge in 1964 that catered to the gay clientele. He also would travel to Laguna Beach and Huntington Beach to have casual sex with male sex workers. He tried numerous times to come out to his parents by bringing a succession of male friends to meet his family during his years at Claremont, but his parents and sisters were oblivious to his homosexuality, or they were choosing to be oblivious. Mm-hmm. Randy got arrested in 1966 and charged with lewd conduct after he propositioned an undercover police officer in Huntington Beach. Since he didn't have a record, no charges were filed and he was let go. The next year, Randy went all out, embracing himself and his beliefs. He was a fierce supporter of liberal views and even registered as a Democrat. So that's a big step. He quickly became a Democratic Party organizer, campaigning for the election of Robert F. Kennedy and receiving a thank you letter from the senator for all of his hard work. In the progress of embracing his true self, Randy also kind of lost himself. He really slacked on his schoolwork, now taking up drinking, doing drugs, and spending all night gambling at poker games with other students. But again, this is like the 60s. That's when like drugs were heavy. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody was doing drugs. So I can kind of understand letting yourself go a little bit and enjoying your youth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because of him sounding like he was just kind of going a little wild and enjoying his life for the first time without the weight of all those expectations pushing him down, keeping him in line, he failed to graduate from Claremont in June of 1967. He was then forced to repeat his econometrics class and postponed his graduation by 8 months. But in February of 1968, Randy achieved his Bachelor of Arts degree in economics from Claremont Men's College. So it delayed him, but, you know, he got there in the end, and he got to enjoy a little bit of his college years, you know? Just a few months out, he's a real shit person later on. So don't think that just because I'm kind of supporting him here and saying, you know, just let him be, that I think he's he's not a good person later on.
Like we said, we have all the respect and all the kindness and love for the children. And he obviously is an adult, but he's still young.
Yeah, he's still
we don't have any
himself.
Sympathy for the adult.
Yeah.
So, you know, as he's transitioning and going through all this stuff, we have sympathy for him. Of course, he's trying to be a good person. We have sympathy for that person.
He's trying to learn who he is.
But the further you go on, he comes to an adult and he's a shit person.
He makes some horrible decisions.
And we do not
support that. Yeah. Just a few months after he graduated from college, Randy enlisted in the Air Force. He did his basic training in Texas before he was stationed at Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California. My brother was also in the Air Force, but he was stationed in Texas, California, and then he finished up in Minot, North Dakota before he left. And he hated Minot. Like, it was just boring, flat tundra of a land.
How long was he in for?
He I don't remember. Years. He moved up pretty high. He was
so more than his normal 2 or 4 years or whatever it is required.
Yeah, he was a captain of some sort. But he was a missileer. So he was down in a bunker and waiting for the phone call to push the button to nuke.
Oh, gosh. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, yeah. But it was also very boring, you know, just sitting down there. I'm sure he had other responsibilities, but he wanted to be a pilot, but he had trouble, like, landing. which that's a big part.
That's a pretty important part.
But he was bummed out that he couldn't be a pilot. But, we can't always get what we want. Yeah, I see it. Give me a second. Jesus.
You just stress me out sometimes when you're reading.
Don't read it.
I have to now.
No, don't read it, because then it ruins because you're going to read ahead. And you're
I don't read ahead.
Then you know what's going on.
I don't read ahead.
I work hard on my scripts.
I read when you read. I can't help it now that it's up there.
My nose is itchy.
Okay.
Randy supervised the painting of test planes. During his service, he rose to the rank of Airman First Class and Supervisor Manager. That same year, he came out to his family. He wrote a letter to a friend and described his father as having flown into a rage. His mother, on the other hand, was more understanding, but still disapproved. Which, yeah, it happens sometimes.
Right. A mother's love, I guess.
They ultimately accepted his sexuality, but they didn't approve of his sexuality. His sisters did note that he began distancing himself from them and their parents afterwards. So, I mean, when you know that somebody constantly...
They're like okay with it, but they're okay with it from a distance.
They're okay, you know what I mean? As long as you don't bring it around, if you don't mention it, if you pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that's not allowing you to live your true self or be your true self. So I can understand distancing yourself. On July 26, 1969, Randy told his supervisors of his sexual orientation.
Oh, because he's in the military.
Air Force, yeah.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, he was then granted a general discharge after only 13 months of service. Which 13 months, that's super fast to move up, a rank.
Mm-hmm.
His dismissal was officially classified as being on medical grounds. So I guess your sexual orientation is medical.
Because is it like...
Because he's crazy?
Yeah, I was going to say, is it like medical, like a mental disorder?
Probably what they considered
Whatever.
Randy got legal advice from an attorney to challenge the grounds regarding his discharge, but the Air Force refused to change the status. Randy then moved back into his parents' house and worked as a bartender. He eventually got his own apartment and moved out on his own. 13-year-old Joseph Alvin Fancher ran into Randy at Huntington Beach in March of 1970. Joseph told Randy that he had just ran away from home. So, of course, the nice thing to do is for Randy to offer the young boy a place to stay, complete with a real-life woman to have sex with. How could a 13-year-old boy pass that up? Joseph went with Randy to his Belmont Shore apartment, where Randy drugged him, beat him, and raped him repeatedly.
And how old was Randy at this time? 19? 20?
No, he's older than that.
Oh.
This is 1970, and he was born 1945. So 25, if it's 1970.
1970, yeah. Yeah, like, what the fuck is a 13-year-old doing with a 25-year-old? Or what the fuck is a 25-year-old doing with a 13-year-old, actually?
Yeah. After several hours, Joseph escaped from the apartment after Randy left for work. A Good Samaritan saw Joseph walking, drugged and disheveled, and called an ambulance. They pumped Joseph's stomach at the hospital to get all that drugs out of his system. Joseph told the police that Randy had given him drugs and beaten him, but didn't tell them about the sexual assault because he felt ashamed and was afraid no one would believe him. Which, always believe. Always believe. The police searched Randy's apartment with the cooperation of his roommate, but Joseph admitted that he took the pills Randy offered him willingly, and the police hadn't had a search warrant when they searched the apartment, so no charges were filed against Randy.
Again, another shit person getting by the system.
Yeah. In 1971, Randy got a job as a forklift driver at Huntington Beach. Fun little fact about me, is I know how to drive a forklift too.
Me too.
That's our good old Lowe's days.
And a
Order picker and a Star Wars. Yeah.
Which Star Wars is pretty much a stand-up forklift.
Yeah.
But it can't pick up as much.
The order picker is where you're on a platform and you have to wear a harness and like it lifts you up
so you can pull stuff off the shelf.
Yeah. I have a fear of heights.
I couldn't do it because I had to hold on with one hand and grab the other. So if it was too heavy, I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm not doing it.
Like, because when you're standing up there, you're strapped in, but it still sways. And being strapped in isn't going to do shit if the whole fucking thing tips over, which was my fear. Mm-hmm. I hated it. I hated it.
Anyway, we don't work there anymore. Thank God.
No. He also enrolled at Long Beach State University, where he majored in education, which that's a great place for somebody who just raped a little boy.
Right.
To try to get into. He met a fellow teaching student named Jeff Graves there. He was 4 years younger than Randy and was there from Minnesota. Minnesota. Randy and Jeff started dating. 30-year-old Long Beach resident Wayne Joseph Duckett's body was found naked close to the Ortega Highway on October 5th, 1971. He was a bartender at The Stable, which is a gay bar in the nearby Sunset Beach. He had last been seen alive on September 20th. Unfortunately, due to the degree of decomposition of his body, any evidence on the body was long gone. The cause of death was listed as acute alcohol poisoning due to the high blood alcohol level. Randy wrote his first entry into his scorecard journal with a single word, stable, leading investigators to believe Wade was his first murder victim.
Okay, so you don't have to answer this. You can say yes or no if it's coming up. Did he score them by numbers? Is this an actual scorecard like, oh, this guy was a 7 out of 10?
No, scorecard is he just kept track of.
Okay.
He gave like nicknames to who he.
I didn't know if he was like, oh, this guy was a 10 out of 10.
No.
Recommend
there was
him.
No rating system.
Okay.
That I read about, at least. In the early hours of December 26, 1972, 20-year-old Marine Edward Daniel Moore's body was found beside the 405 freeway in Seal Beach. There's a lot of beaches, I guess, being California.
Mine had a lot of, did you hear, like a lot of valleys and beaches too?
That would be so confusing though. Like, which beach?
Right.
Oh, this beach. There's too many beaches.
Yeah.
There were abrasions on his body indicating that he had been pushed from a moving vehicle. An autopsy showed that he had been bound at the wrists and ankles, beaten with a blunt instrument on his face before being garroted. His body also had numerous bite marks, human bite marks, and most shockingly, a sock had been... See, you read ahead, damn it!
I can't help it. I can't usually read ahead because it messes me up.
Fucking bitch.
What is going on up there?
I don't know. His body also had numerous bite marks, human bite marks, and most shockingly, a sock had been forced into his rectum. He had last been seen leaving the barracks at Camp Pendleton on Christmas Eve. 6 weeks later, on February 6, 1973, the body of an unidentified male who appeared to be between 17 and 25 years of age was found along the Terminal Island Freeway in Wilmington. This victim had been strangled with a ligature and also had a sock inserted in his rectum. And that's got to be hard.
I was just going to say that.
To get a sock up there.
Yeah.
The amount of force needed.
You know what I picture?
Huh.
Probably didn't use lube.
You would have to lube it up.
But it's back in the 70s, so maybe they didn't. I'm just saying. And he probably put the sock on his penis.
And then
put it in.
I don't know.
Think? You know what I mean? That's what I picture. Because there's no way you're going to be able to get a... I mean, you could, but...
I guess if you're not trying to be gentle, you could shove it up there.
Yeah.
2 months later, on April 14th, the body of 17-year-old Kevin Clark Bailey was found on the side of the road in Huntington Beach. He had been sodomized and castrated prior to his death. On April 22nd, an unidentified boy's dismembered body was found in Wilmington, and on July 30th, the body of a 20-year-old Ronnie Jean Weeby was found strangled and discarded by an on-ramp on the 405 freeway. He had only been missing for 2 days. The body of 23-year-old bisexual art student Vincent Cruz Mestes was found in the San Bernardino Mountains on December 29th, 1973. A sock had also been forced into his rectum, and his hands had been severed from his body.
Oh.
They were never found. His hands.
Oh.
So there's just hands floating around somewhere in California.
Just like those hand gloves.
Yeah, she showed me a picture of Ed Gein's.
Ed Gein.
Isn't it Gein?
I think it's Ed Gein.
I don't think it is.
That's how they say it on the TV. I'll look it up. You keep telling the story.
So anyways, she sent a article, or it was just a picture.
It was a picture. Well, it was an article, but I screenshotted the picture
of these human hand gloves that he created, and they were all stitched up.
You're looking at how to pronounce these names.
Like, he's not gonna know how to say it. He's freaking French.
Pronunciations too. Stay tuned until the end of this video. You're looking at how to pronounce these names. Gein. I know it's not obvious from the spelling.
Ed Gein.
But that's how you say it. And now you know.
And now
Ed
you
Gein.
know.
And now you know that Angela was right.
Yeah.
And Amanda was wrong.
What are your, well, actually...
Anyways, so he made gloves from the skin of somebody's hands, and it was stitched all the way around.
But I don't know if it was actually from the hands. He just made gloves out of skin.
Oh, so you don't know if they were...
I don't know if they were his actual hands or if he just took the skin and made gloves. Because I didn't read the article. I just saw that and I screenshotted it and sent it to her.
And my thing is that's so much more work. Why wouldn't you just peel the skin off like you do a chicken drumstick when you want the skin to come off? You just peel it. Why wouldn't you do that? Then you wouldn't have all the ugly stitch marks on your hand gloves.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway. By November of the following year, 5 more victims had been found on or close to major roadways in Southern California. 3 had been conclusively linked to the same killer. 20-year-old Malcolm Eugene Little and 19-year-old James Dale Reeves had been found beside a freeway with foreign objects inserted into their rectum.
Jesus. What's up with this? I mean, I get it. He's gay, but what's his fascination with rectums? Rectum damn near killed him. No, he did kill him. That was a bad joke.
The third was 18-year-old Marine Roger Edward Dickerson, who had bite marks like several of the previous victims. 17-year-old high school student John William Liras was abducted and murdered on January 3rd, 1975. John was last seen getting on a bus in Long Beach. His strangled body was found the following day at Sunset Beach with a foreign object protruding from his anus. There were drag marks along the beach close to where his body was found, suggesting that 2 individuals had carried John's body into the water.
Oh, so he's got an accomplice.
That's the theory. On January 17th, the body of 21-year-old Craig Jonatas was found in the parking lot of the Golden Salis Hotel near the Pacific Coast Highways and Loynes Drive in Long Beach. Craig had been strangled with the length of string, most likely a shoelace. 14 victims had been linked to the same killer by the beginning of 1975. Their bodies were dumped across 4 different counties over the past 3 years. The victims had all been white males with similar physical appearances. On the 24th of January, homicide investigators from several jurisdictions in Southern California convened in Orange County to share their progress in the hunt for the serial killer. The FBI profile that was shared with investigators stated that the killer was a methodical, organized lust killer of above average intelligence who exhibited an indifference to the interests and welfare of society. Some of the investigators thought the murders had to have been the work of more than just one individual, of which one or more had military background, since 2 victims had paper tissue residue in their nostrils. That is a procedure known to be used in the military to prevent bodies from purging after death. So expelling all their fluids.
Mm-hmm.
The insertion of the socks inside the victims' rectums also was theorized to have been intended to prevent purging as the body was being driven for disposal. So shit wasn't getting all over their car.
Oh, so that's probably why he did it. Okay.
Unfortunately, investigators still had no solid suspects. On the evening of March 29th, 1975, 2 boys, Keith Crotwell and Kent May, were lured from the beach parking lot into a Ford Mustang. They were given beer and some Valium as they were driven in a random, aimless manner around Belmont Shore and Seal Beach. Kent later remembered feeling catatonic, a result from the Valium and alcohol he ingested before he eventually passed out. In the parking lot where they had last been seen, 2 friends of the boys had observed the distinct black and white Mustang pull in and stop before the driver leaned across the seat to open the passenger door and shove the unconscious, but otherwise unharmed, Kent out of the car onto the pavement. The driver then sped away from the scene. As he did so, the friends noted Keith still slumped against the unknown driver's shoulder. So Kent got away, but Keith did not. Keith's skull was found on a jetty close to Long Beach Marina on May 8, 1975. I had to look up what a jetty was, because I had never heard that term. It's a man-made structure that extends from the shore into the water. It looks kind of like a pier. You know how we have long piers and a lighthouse? Well, it's the same thing. The only difference is the jetty is used to protect the coastline from eroding, and a pier is not. The pier is just, I guess, for look-sies.
Yeah.
The rest of Keith's body was discovered 6 months later. After the 2 friends heard the news...
Wait, the rest of his body?
Yeah, because they just found his head.
Okay.
They found his head on the jetty.
Okay.
After the 2 friends heard the news of Keith and Kent, they suspected the murderer was a patron of the Belmont Shore gay bar and searched their neighborhood looking for that distinct Mustang. They found the car less than a mile from their home, wrote the license plate number down, and gave the information to the police. That's when police discovered the car was registered to none other than Randy Kraft. And you're thinking, oh, great.
He's caught.
He's caught.
Yeah.
I'm afraid not. The police questioned Randy about Keith's abduction and murder on May 19th, 1975. He initially denied having met either Keith or Kent. The police weren't convinced and summoned him down to the police department for further questioning. Randy then admitted that on or around March 29th, he had met 2 boys in the Long Beach parking lot and persuaded them to drink alcohol and consume Valium with him as he drove. He stated to have returned Kent to the parking lot and then had driven with Keith to a side road close to the El Toro off-ramp, where his car became stuck upon an embankment. He claimed to have walked alone to the gas station to call a tow truck, while Keith remained in the car.
Mm-hmm.
When he returned to his car, Keith had disappeared.
Magic.
He doesn't know what happened to Keith. These mofos. Randy's roommate confirmed that Randy had called him on the date of Keith's disappearance, claiming that Keith was stuck on an embankment. The detectives remained unconvinced that that's how things actually played out. The next week, 2 detectives attempted to file homicide charges against Randy, but the LA District's Attorney Office declined, citing the coroner's conclusion from the autopsy of the remains that Keith had died of an accidental drowning. It's assumed that Randy was feeling the heat from being questioned on Keith's murder or the turmoil happening in his personal life in the summer of 1975 that cooled Randy's killing streak for a while. It's believed he didn't kill again until December 31st of 1975. So he took, from May to December. So he took a little break there.
Okay.
When he abducted Mark Hall, a 22-year-old in San Juan Capistrano.
I would Capistrano, but
Capistrano.
that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is though.
This was later described by prosecutors as the worst of all of Randy's murders. Maybe because of going for several months without that release of killing somebody, it was all just pent up inside of him. But Mark was driven to a remote canyon where Randy bound him to a tree. The autopsy report listed the cause of death as asphyxiation caused by leaves and dirt found lodged deep in Mark's trachea. He had also been raped and castrated, with his genitals then being inserted into his rectum.
Oh my gosh.
Prior to the castration, an object was shoved with such brutality into his penis that his bladder was punctured. Additionally, his chest, scrotum, nose, and cheeks had been burned with a lighter from a car. Cars used to have lighters.
I was going to say, back when cars had lighters.
It was a little round thing that had like a little coil, and you would push it in, and it would heat up and then pop out, and it'd be red hot for you to light your cigarette with. But cars don't have that anymore, I don't think.
They have the opening.
Yeah, but now it's just like a plug.
But now it's just not a USB. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a plug for your car. Which was also used to destroy Mark's eyes. The report also listed several incisions on Mark's legs, which had been inflicted with a broken bottle. Most heartbreakingly, it was determined that he had been alive through much of the torture.
Mm-mm.
By 1976, Randy and Jeff Graves had broken up, but shortly thereafter, he found a new and improved Jeff, 19-year-old apprentice baker Jeff Seelig. The couple moved to Laguna Hills together. Neither Randy or Jeff believed in monogamy. The couple did consider their relationship permanent, though. Jeff later told investigators that he and Randy would regularly pick up hitchhikers who, if they were willing, would come back to their apartment for a threesome. Jeff was very clear that Randy had never been violent towards him or shown any violent tendencies towards others. It's thought that his relationship with Jeff is what caused him to slow down in the number of murders he committed. He is not known to have killed anyone else until December 10th, 1976. The body of Paul Joseph Fuke, who was just 19 years old, has never been found. But remember that scorecard that was mentioned at the beginning of all this? Well, Paul's name is clearly listed on it. He was also last seen outside of a Long Beach gay bar named Ripples, which Randy was known to have visited frequently. After the murder of Paul, Randy is not known to have killed again for 16 months. On the 3rd of January, 1978, homicide investigators convened once more to discuss the progress on the manhunt for the unknown killer. Investigators were well aware that there were more than one murderer at large. Just the previous July, they had arrested Patrick Kearney, who we covered back in episode number 19. I'll make sure to put the link for that episode in the show notes so you can take a listen if you haven't already, or if you would like a refresher. Patrick had confessed to murdering 28 boys and young men, the majority of which he dismembered and disposed of the parts in a trash bag or in trash bags along highways in Southern California. Randy had dismembered a few of his own victims, but he never killed anyone by shooting them in the temple as Patrick Kearney did. Additionally, Patrick had never tortured any of his victims. His MO differed significantly from Randy's, so investigators were certain that another killer was still on the loose. Which at this time, there were quite a few that were disposing along the highway there in Southern California. There was probably at least three or four that were disposing.
Active at that time.
Yeah. So it would be very hard to distinguish
whose is whose.
Or to know how many you're actually looking for even. On April 16th, 1978, Robbie abducted an 18-year-old Marine.
Randy.
What did I say?
Robbie.
Oh, my bad. On April 16th, 1978, Randy abducted an 18-year-old Marine named Scott Michael Hughes. The Marine was given Valium before Randy slit his scrotum open and removed one of his testicles. He then strangled Scott to death with a ligature. Randy tossed the fully clothed body, minus his shoelaces, on the side of a highway on-ramp in Anaheim, California. On June 11th, just 2 months later, the body of 23-year-old Roland Gerald Young was found near a highway in San Diego. Roland had been castrated before he was stabbed to death. There were abrasions to his body, which indicated he was pushed from a moving vehicle that had been going at a high speed. So with all the castrations, he is having some serious issues with the male genitalia here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if it's from having to repress his homosexuality for so long or what. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know, but he seems to be focusing a lot on
that. Yeah.
On mutilating that.
Which, that's got to say something.
It must,
you know what I mean?
It must mean something.
Yeah.
The body of a 20-year-old Marine named Richard Allen Keith was found 8 days later on the side of the road on Malton Parkway. His girlfriend last saw him alive in the city of Carson. There were welts on Richard's wrists, indicating he had been bound before he was strangled with a ligature. Froth in his throat indicated that he was also drowning as a result of the fluorazepam and alcohol that he had consumed at the time of being strangled. Richard is believed to be referred to on Randy's scorecard as Marine Carson. On July 6th, 3 weeks after the murder of Richard, 23-year-old hitchhiker Keith Arthur Klingbeil was found alive on the side of the Interstate 5 after being forced to ingest large doses of acetaminophen and alcohol and being strangled with his shoelace. He was rushed to Mission Community Hospital, but shortly after passed away. His autopsy revealed that his left nipple had been seared with a car cigarette lighter. Jesus. I would like to tell you all that we're almost at the conclusion of this absolutely sickening episode, that he was caught shortly after, but there's just so much more that I'm going to have to break this up into 2 episodes. Because we're almost at an hour mark now, and I have more, like at least the same, if not more, for the next episode. So we're going to stop here because this is really heavy and I'm sure you guys all need a little break. So go hug your cat or your dog or your significant other, get yourself a bowl of ice cream, put on a little Bluey, and revert back to when you were a child and the worst monster you knew about was the Grinch at Christmas time, because the monsters we learn about as we grow up are much, much more terrifying, and they can literally be anyone and be anywhere. So,
What the fuck?
so that's Randy Kraft,
So
part
far.
1.
So far.
And it's not close to being done. Not close at all.
What the fuck?
He's fucked up.
Yeah.
And he started out so good.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a promising person.
Like, why mutilate the? Like, you're a man. You know what that stuff could feel like.
Yeah. I'm sure he's been kicked in the balls before. Could you imagine having it all
Cut off, cut
yeah.
open, and
have a testicle removed while you're alive? Like, that's sick.
No.
That's sick.
And there's more to come, guys.
Yeah, there's more. Ugh. So if you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more like it, come back next week and check out the other episodes we've already put on our website at www.spinechillingchatspodcast.com. And there you can find links to our merch store, which has some cool stuff on it.
Yes, buy some merch, please.
We got Bigfoot, we got aliens, we got cryptid crew. Check it out.
Yes. Check out our bios, our pictures, our Halloween picture photo shoot, things like that.
Yep. Also, you can submit your own haunted stories if you've been around any ghosties and want to tell us about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen any cryptids, are you best friends with Bigfoot? We want to meet them too.
Mm-hmm.
Share the knowledge.
Fairy fucking.
Yeah.
Any of the triangles, like we already covered.
Yeah.
Mysterious triangles.
Paranormal triangles. Anything. Just let us know. Submit them on there, or you can type them out in an email if that's easier for you, and send them to spinechillingchatspodcast@gmail.com. There is no hyphen in that one. And we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. If you're just listening to this, you can watch it too. A lot of times I'll add pictures and stuff during the video so you can see who or what we're talking about. So sometimes it's good to watch the video too.
Yep.
But please leave comments. We want to hear your thoughts on the episodes.
Like, share, subscribe.
Please share. Please. Pretty please. And I guess that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So come back.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope you come back. And most of all, we hope you keep it spooky. Bye, guys.
Bye.